The sky over Earth was quiet at first, calm and blue. Then suddenly, strange shadows appeared, moving faster than anything humans had ever seen. People stopped and stared as hundreds of glowing ships descended from the clouds, their shapes unlike anything built by human hands. The world froze in fear and wonder. Governments scrambled fighter jets and satellites, but no one could touch the ships. Inside the ships, millions of beings floated, huddled together in strange containers, their eyes wide with fear. The aliens who brought them did not speak or communicate with humans. They simply released the refugees over the oceans, forests, and cities, then vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving chaos and confusion behind. People ran into the streets, pointing at the sky, some screaming, some crying, while news channels broadcasted live images of creatures landing safely. Yet the scale was terrifying. 6 million beings suddenly on Earth, nowhere to go, no food, no shelter. Humanity had never faced such a challenge before. At the United Nations, leaders met in emergency sessions, arguing about what to do. Some wanted to send the refugees back, others insisted on helping. Scientists rushed to study the aliens' technology and the refugees themselves, trying to understand their language, their needs, and their origins. Every day, more ships were spotted, but none carried weapons. Only the helpless beings. In the cities, people were both afraid and curious. Children approached the refugees with small hands offering food. Adults debated whether helping was smart or dangerous, while the media called it a cosmic punishment from unknown aliens. Yet ordinary humans started showing small acts of kindness, sharing homes, blankets, and food with those who had nowhere else to go. Among the refugees, there were strange creatures, some tall and thin with translucent skin, others small with many eyes, but all looked frightened. They did not attack, they only tried to survive. Their fear mirrored humanity's own fear, and slowly, humans began to notice something important. These beings were not enemies, they were victims, just like them. In a small city near the coast, a young woman named Maya helped guide a group of refugees to a school converted into a temporary shelter. She did not know their language, but she offered water, blankets, and comfort. One child held her hand tightly, trembling, and she realized that this moment could define the future of humanity. Would they rise to the challenge or crumble under fear? Meanwhile, the night sky was filled with the glow of the ships that had dropped the refugees. Satellites captured images of empty alien vessels floating away. Questions filled the minds of humans. Why were they sent here? What punishment was intended? And most importantly, how could Earth survive this sudden arrival? Fear, hope, and curiosity mixed together as humans took their first steps toward helping the refugees. Ordinary people became heroes in small ways, sharing food, building shelters, and teaching the newcomers about life on Earth. At the same time, some governments planned strict rules, afraid of losing control, while others secretly offered more support than anyone would admit. The day ended with the sun setting behind the city skyline. Refugee children played in the streets. Humans watched them cautiously, but slowly, a sense of connection grew, a fragile thread of understanding. The arrival had started as a disaster, but it was becoming a test of humanity's heart. Could humans rise to the challenge and show compassion on a scale never seen before? The answer would shape the future of Earth and its place in the universe. Days passed since the arrival of the alien refugees, and humans were slowly learning to live alongside them. In the crowded shelters, language was the first challenge. The refugees spoke in strange sounds, and humans struggled to understand. Scientists worked day and night, using machines and computers to try to translate, but progress was slow. In one small town, a young man named Leo volunteered to help. He noticed patterns in the refugees' gestures and expressions. He began to teach them basic human words, while they tried to explain their own needs and fears. Slowly, small conversations began. Laughter and simple greetings filled the air, bridging a gap that seemed impossible. Not all humans were kind. Some were suspicious and fearful. A group of locals blocked a refugee camp, shouting and waving signs. They feared invasion or hidden threats. Tensions grew, and every day was a careful balance between fear and compassion. Among the refugees, some had abilities that amazed humans. One could heal minor injuries by touch. Another seemed to control small lights or energy. These powers frightened many, but they also saved lives. A young refugee girl healed a sick child in a shelter. and humans began to realize that these beings were not dangerous, but unique and vulnerable. Meanwhile, the media reported stories of small miracles, and some terrifying rumors. A few refugees disappeared mysteriously, and people whispered about alien spies or hidden dangers. The suspense made everyone uneasy, but it also brought humans and refugees closer, as they depended on each other for survival. In the city square, humans and refugees attempted their first joint project, building simple shelters and sharing food. A man named Arjun offered his tools to a group of tall, thin refugees. Together they lifted heavy beams, laughed at mistakes, and slowly learned each other's ways. This small act of teamwork gave hope that cooperation was possible. The protagonist, Leo, discovered that some refugees were hiding, scared of being controlled by human authorities. He found one group in an abandoned warehouse. The children whispered in fear, afraid of being separated from their families. Leo promised safety and began teaching them basic Earth rules. A bond started to form, the first seeds of trust. Even at night, tension never left the city. Humans wondered if the aliens who dumped the refugees were watching. If this was a test or a punishment, parents held their children close, while the refugees huddled in blankets. And in the quiet, Leo listened to their soft alien songs, realizing that music was a universal language, connecting hearts without words. Small victories gave humans courage, and every shared meal, every gentle gesture, built understanding. Yet danger lingered. The missing refugees hinted at secrets, and the strange abilities suggested powers humans did not yet understand. Suspense hung in the air like a storm waiting to strike. By the end of the week, humans and refugees had started to form the first community. Cautious but hopeful, bonds were fragile but growing. Every act of kindness created ripples of trust, and every fearful glance reminded humans how delicate peace could be. The first contact was more than a challenge. It was the beginning of a story about courage, compassion, and the true nature of humanity. The night sky shimmered with distant stars, and somewhere, far beyond Earth, the aliens who had dumped the refugees watched silently, waiting for humans to show their worth. Leo looked at the children laughing despite their fear, and knew the real journey had only just begun. The test of humanity's heart was far from over. The weeks after the arrival brought new challenges for humanity. Cities were crowded, food and water were running low, hospitals were overwhelmed, and shelters were full to the brim. Humans faced the biggest test in their history. 6 million refugees needed help, and every small mistake could lead to disaster. In one city, a massive storm damaged part of the refugee shelter, flooding rooms and destroying supplies. Panic spread quickly, yet ordinary humans acted like heroes. Volunteers carried children through the water, shared dry clothes, and rebuilt broken walls. Small acts of compassion became lifelines for many. Amid the chaos, the refugees showed courage. They helped repair shelters, guided humans to hidden food supplies, and shared knowledge of their strange technology. Some could purify water quickly. Others taught humans how to grow alien plants in Earth's soil. The bond between the two groups grew stronger every day. However, not everyone acted with kindness. Some humans feared losing their jobs, homes, or safety. Riots broke out near the shelters. Protests demanded that refugees be sent away. Governments struggled to maintain order, and the media reported both heroic stories and terrifying rumors. Suspense hung in the air like a storm cloud. In one small neighborhood, a child refugee named Lyra touched the hearts of humans. She walked barefoot through the streets, offering a tiny plant to everyone she met. It was strange but beautiful, and people smiled despite fear. Her innocence reminded humans that these beings were victims, not enemies. The protagonist, Leo, worked tirelessly with volunteers, moving between shelters, calming frightened humans, and helping refugees. He discovered that fear was the strongest enemy, but compassion could overcome it. Every shared meal, every word of comfort, every act of kindness became a small victory. At the same time, whispers of danger grew. A few refugees disappeared mysteriously, and some humans suspected hidden threats. The suspense made tension unbearable, yet it also strengthened trust among those who truly cared. Humans and refugees learned to watch over each other, sharing both hope and fear. A turning point came when a group of humans and refugees built a large community garden together, planting Earth seeds and alien seeds side by side. Children laughed as they watered plants. Adults exchanged stories and knowledge. the garden became a symbol of unity, showing that cooperation could create life even in the darkest moments. But danger still lurked. An alien ship appeared briefly in the sky, scanning Earth silently. Humans held their breath, wondering if this was a warning or a test, while refugees whispered in fear about past wars. The suspense reminded everyone that compassion alone might not be enough. Courage was also needed. By the end of the week, communities had begun to change. Fear slowly turned into understanding. Enemies became allies, and the refugees were no longer strangers but part of humanity's story. The city was still crowded, and supplies were still limited. Yet hope burned brighter than ever. Humans had shown that even in the face of overwhelming crises, compassion could shine. As night fell, Leo watched children, both human and alien, playing in the streets, laughing despite hunger and fear, and he realized something powerful. Humanity was learning, growing, and proving that compassion was a strength, not a weakness. The crisis was far from over, but humans and refugees had taken the first steps toward a future that no one could have imagined. Months had passed since the arrival of the refugees, and Earth was slowly changing. Humans and aliens were learning to live together, sharing homes, schools, and even small businesses. Streets that once echoed with fear were now filled with laughter and conversation. In one city, humans and refugees worked side by side to repair buildings damaged by storms and overcrowding. Children played together, learning each other's games. Humans taught the aliens to ride bicycles, while the refugees showed them how to make strange but delicious food from their homeland. Bonds were forming that no one had expected. The protagonist, Leo, continued to guide and support the community, but he discovered something troubling. Some refugees had hidden secrets. They whispered about a device from their home planet, powerful enough to save or destroy worlds. The device had been left with them during the journey, and they feared humans might misuse it. Suspense gripped Leo as he realized the stakes were higher than anyone knew. Meanwhile, humans outside the shelters were learning from the refugees, adopting new technologies, and improving medicine and agriculture. Governments began to see the value of cooperation, but not all leaders were willing to trust. Some plotted to control the refugees, fearing their powers and strange abilities. In a quiet corner of the city, Leo met a small group of refugees who had been hiding. They spoke softly, explaining the importance of the device. They had protected it for months, waiting for humans to prove themselves worthy. Leo promised to help, knowing that the survival of both species might depend on trust and unity. At the same time, some humans continued to resist, afraid that the aliens' powers were a threat. Protests erupted near shelters, yet the everyday acts of kindness from ordinary people created a ripple effect, slowly changing hearts. Even the skeptics began to see the refugees as partners, not enemies. The tension grew when a mysterious alien warship appeared near Earth's orbit, scanning cities silently. Humans and refugees feared the worst, yet they decided to work together rather than panic. Leo led a group to communicate with the ship using signals and messages learned from the refugees. Their courage and unity sent a message stronger than any weapon. In the shelters, children painted murals on the walls, showing humans and aliens holding hands under a shared sky. These small acts of creativity became a symbol of hope, inspiring adults to continue building trust, cooperation, and understanding. Humanity was learning that compassion and teamwork could overcome fear. By the end of the month, humans and refugees had created the first joint council, where decisions about resources, safety, and the mysterious device were made together. Debates were lively but respectful. Every voice mattered, and slowly, a sense of shared responsibility formed. As night fell, the city glowed with lights from homes, shelters, and the community garden. Leo watched humans and refugees talking, laughing, and sharing stories under the stars. The alien warship still lingered in the distance, but no one panicked. They had learned that unity could protect them, and understanding could build a future. The chapter ended with suspense lingering in the air. The secret device remained hidden. The alien ship watched silently, and the true test of humanity's heart had only just begun. The world was changing, and both humans and refugees were learning that survival alone was not enough. Compassion, courage, and trust were the keys to their future. The months of struggle, fear, and uncertainty had tested humanity like never before. Humans and refugees had faced hunger, storms, and suspicion. yet they had survived together, slowly learning to trust and care for each other. Leo stood in the center of the city, watching humans and refugees work side by side. Children played together, elders shared stories, and the once fearful streets were now filled with laughter. The sense of community was stronger than ever. The secret device that the refugees had hidden for months became a symbol of trust, not power. Humans and refugees decided to use it together. Carefully following the instructions shared by the alien visitors, the device purged polluted water, healed sick crops, and stabilized the environment in several regions. Meanwhile, the alien warship that had been silently observing Earth hovered in orbit. Its presence no longer caused fear. Instead, it became a symbol of challenge overcome. The aliens were watching humanity's compassion and courage, waiting to see if humans could rise above fear. In one daring act, Leo and a group of refugees delivered supplies to a remote village that had been cut off by storms. Humans helped build new shelters, shared food, and taught farming techniques, while refugees used their powers to clean water and repair damaged homes. The village transformed in a few days, proving that unity and compassion could work miracles. Some humans who had once doubted or opposed the refugees now stood alongside them, protecting the shelters and teaching children. Fear and prejudice slowly faded, replaced by empathy and understanding. Every act of kindness became a step toward a brighter future. The suspense reached its peak when the aliens finally sent a signal, scanning Earth for signs of fear or cruelty. Leo and the Council of Humans and Refugees waited anxiously. But when the response came, it was not a warning or a threat, it was approval. The aliens acknowledged humanity's courage, compassion, and unity. Celebration filled the streets, but it was quiet and thoughtful. Humans had learned a lesson larger than any war or technology. They had discovered that true strength came from caring for others, even those who were different. Compassion had become humanity's greatest power. The refugee children taught human children songs and games. Humans shared stories of Earth, and together they painted murals showing a united world. The once impossible challenge had transformed into a story of hope, inspiration, and heroism. Leo looked at the horizon, knowing that Earth had changed forever. Humans had shown the universe that even when faced with overwhelming odds, they could rise to the occasion, act with courage, and open their hearts to others. The aliens had tested them, but humanity had triumphed, not with weapons or power, but with kindness, understanding, and unity. As night fell, the city glowed under the stars, humans and refugees together, laughter and music floating through the air. The warship slowly departed, leaving Earth in peace, and the refugees began to rebuild their lives alongside humans. The story of compassion, courage, and hope had reached its climax, and the future looked brighter than anyone had imagined. Humanity had passed the test, proving that even in the darkest moments of fear and uncertainty, compassion and unity could shine, and that was the true triumph, a legacy that would be remembered in the galaxy for generations to come.